All right, let's do some horizontal shifts on these rational functions. So let's say we had something like 1 over x minus 2. So minus on the inside of the function is going to be a right to shift. And let's see here. So shift moving to the right to, let's say 1, 2. And so what that's going to do, now that's going to move our vertical asymptote, because now to get 0 in the denominator, you would need to plug in positive 2. So that's where this function is undefined, at positive 2 there. I didn't move this one up or down, so the horizontal asymptote is not changing. It's still at 0. And this is a 1 over x graph, not a 1 over x squared graph. So going in opposite directions here kind of looks like roads going off in the opposite directions. And let's go and label everything. So vertical asymptote moved over to the right 2. Horizontal asymptote did not go up or down, so still at 0. The domain is always everything other than the vertical asymptote. So negative infinity to 2, union 2 to infinity. The range, best just to look at the graph for that, and in this case it's everything except for 0. Let's do one with the x squared, the 1 over x squared function as well. Let's say we had y equals 1 over x plus 3 quantity squared. Now that is a plus 3, so it's going to be a left 3 shift. You would have to plug in negative 3 to make that 0 in the denominator, so that's going to be our vertical asymptote. And otherwise it looks exactly like our regular 1 over x squared graph, the volcano graph. And let's see here. So labeling things, I've kind of put myself in an awkward spot here. Let's say vertical asymptote is negative 3. Horizontal asymptote, we didn't move it up or down, so that's still at 0. The domain, I can get that from the vertical asymptotes. It's everything except for negative 3. The range, I'll just look at the picture. Lowest it goes down to is 0, not including 0. Highest it goes up to is positive infinity there. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and why don't we combine these shifts together as well? So let's do some horizontal and vertical shifts together. Maybe throw in some reflections as well. We haven't looked at those yet. So let's say part C. Let's do y equals negative 3 over x plus 1 minus 2. So let's see here. We have a negative in front of the function, so we're going to have an x-axis reflection. Let's put that in a different color. So this is going to be an x-axis reflection. We have an x plus 1, so that's left 1. And we have a minus 2, so that's a down 2. All right, so let's see here. We're going left, we're going down. Let's maybe put the axes here. Something like that. So we're going left 1, down 2. So left, right, that's going to move the vertical asymptote. Up, down, that's going to move the horizontal asymptote. And then the basic shape of the graph stays the same, but we do have a reflection on this one. So now going to the right, it's going to be below. And coming from the left, it's going to be above, as opposed to our normal 1 over x graph is reflected. And so let's see here. We could list the vertical asymptote, ended up being at negative 1 in this case. The horizontal asymptote ended up being at negative 2. So the domain was everything except for negative 1. And the range, looking at the graph there, is everything except for negative 2. And I'll do one more like that. Let's say part D. let's do y equals -2 over x minus 3 squared plus 1. So we have another x-axis reflection. We have a -3 on the bottom, so that's right 3 because it's inside the function. A +1 on the outside of the function is going to move it up 1. So right 3, 1, 2, 3. Up 1. It's the horizontal asymptote. This is a squared in the bottom, so it's the volcano graph, but it's flipped upside down because of the x-axis reflection. I'm not exactly sure where that intersects the x-axis, but that's not one of the questions being asked on this section anyway, so don't worry about that. Vertical asymptote you'll be asked, so x equals 3. Horizontal asymptote, y equals +1, moved it up 1. The domain you may be asked, that should be review hopefully at this point, but go ahead and write it down anyway. And then the range should also be review from chapter 2. Best to just look at the graph for that, in my opinion. -infinity to 1 here. It doesn't go above 1 anywhere, and it never quite hits that horizontal asymptote, so parenthesis there, not a bracket.